1. The day I turned 30, I officially departed my childhood. Not the pigtail braids devil may care, don't get your Sunday church clothes dirty, whirlwind of playtime whimsy. And not the extraordinarily fun, bad decision-making adolescence of my college years. If my childhood was an ignorance of consequence, then the onset of adulthood was a head-on collision straight into the meaning of everything. 30 was the end of the dress rehearsal. I was officially grown. And to me, that meant a checklist. Education? Check. Good job? Check. Reliable transportation? Check. Down payment for some property? Check. Dating options limited to marriage material? Check, check, and check. I had that checklist on lock. But then at some point, once you get into it, your 30s throw some major curveballs your way. And you realize that real life, not just adulthood, is what happens between the lines of that checklist. You learn that life isn't really about checklist-type problems. And that's when you have to find out who you really are. Because one minute, you had all the answers. And the next, you've got none at all. So, of course, just when I started to gain a comfortable rhythm with regular life concerns, my body went ahead and did the unthinkable. It's bad, I heard the doctor say. I wish I had better news. The reality is, Tabitha, you're only 33. But without taking significant steps in the next 6 months, you may never be able to have a family. I had already left her office, but her voice still trailed me to my car and stayed with me on my drive to work, echoing in my mind on continuous loop. The only merciful interruption was the real-time computer-generated interjections of my navigation app, steering me around the stubborn Los Angeles traffic. Even worse than getting bad news was that it was going to make me late. In my profession, late was tragic. But on the day of our weekly newsroom meeting, late could mean you just lost the assignment that would have made your career. And for my place in line, I had already fought, cried, bled, and eaten far more than my fair share of ramen noodles. My mind was racing, so I'm sure it paraphrased, honing in on what was really the most important consequence to a person like me. In reality, the doctor could have been diplomatic. Maybe she said, "You'll never be able to have biological children." Or something like, "You won't be able to use your own eggs to have children." Whatever she said sounded nothing like hope. My own version of family included becoming a wife and mother. In a life of careful planning, this reality was always a foregone conclusion, the one puzzle piece that was supposed to fall into place on its own. This was the quiet assurance I gave myself, that I'd eventually fill the gap in my life I'd learned to ignore but could never manage to completely forget. This morning's news placed that all in jeopardy. I learned that I have something called premature ovarian failure. Gotta love that kind of name, right? Rather than a much more friendly disorder, the word failure is already wrapped right in. So there's just no sugarcoating this kind of bad. You know what this type of failure is caused by? Stress. The crazy thing is, if you asked me just an hour ago, before that appointment, I would have sworn that I was just fine. Stressed? I'm not stressed, I insisted. Well, really, I protested, but my doctor was unconvinced. Instead, she informed me that studies held all the unfamiliar warnings I'd wish I'd heard before. It could be little things that you just aren't noticing, Dr. Ellis said. Something happens that seems small at the time, or you've become desensitized. But it all adds up. Either way, the test results don't lie. But to me, those were just numbers and words meant for someone else, but mistakenly delivered to me. Because I did not feel stressed. At least not before leaving the doctor's office. I was even unfazed navigating the infuriating molasses maze of morning traffic. I could proudly say I barely cursed. Never had an episode of road rage, held the door open for people, smiled at strangers, and I always made time to put on lipstick. What was there to be stressed about? Before today, everything was going according to plan. I was dating a paper-perfect man, suitable for marriage and tall enough for kids. I was up for a promotion, and I had just met my savings goal for a down payment for my very own first dream house.